Good morning and welcome to today's. Ow, of course, my cat's already. My cat's on my lap, guys. Sorry, we were joking before the call that he might start biting me when I do my my little opening monologue. But welcome, guys. It took about 2 seconds. It is September 26th, Tuesday. We hope everybody had a fantastic Monday and a great start to your week. We are because Bitcoin, and this is Market Check. I am Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by Max Tucker and Dr. Will's Outlook. Like I said, it is Tuesday. We did not have a ton of movement yesterday. I mean, I guess we had some prices kind of floated higher on equities. They are now currently, trading in the red, relatively speaking to that, as the S&P is now trading below 4,300. I guess my question here is, is this the sort of place where we form a bottom on the S&P? Form, I think, a triple bull div on the daily on the NASDAQ, or is it, potentially a place where we break market structure in a pretty big way to the downside? We saw the VIX hit new highs this week, or for the week. We saw the dollar continuing to push up. And right now, I think that the dollar chart is actually the most important when I look at the momentum on it. The dollar really only matters when it moves in a very volatile fashion. And I think that it could be about to do exactly that when I look at, time frames on the RSI from the 4-hour up. They look somewhat primed to me. So I would, if I were a bull, I would like to see a rejection here or around here on the dollar to start seeing or to start expecting strength back in equities once again. But the dollar and the VIX, those are going to continue to guide the picture in equities here into the end of September and into this little end of a window of weakness that we've been talking about that lasts, I think, until the first week of October officially ends. Bitcoin, I mean, it hasn't really done anything. Actually, right before we went live, we were kind of discussing the importance of the end of quarter expiry on options. Max pain is 26.5K on Bitcoin. So, if we do deviate away from that price, it is a potential likelihood that we revisit 26.5K by Friday. That is the level. We might have to wait until that is over to be unpinned, whether that is to the top side or to the downside, right? And a lot of that is probably going to have to do with whatever equities do over the next week. If equities can get a bounce from here, form a bottom, I think the prospects for a bullish Q4 for more so Bitcoin, I think, than altcoins, starts to look a lot more plausible to me. And then, of course, everything across the board as well. But yeah, I want to get right into it, guys. I see that, the S&P is trading below 4,300. It bounced off 4,280. I think that was somewhat of a fib level. I'm not entirely sure. But the jury's still out on how we're going to close this week. And I think the elephant in the room for me is the dollar until proven otherwise. Yes, this is resistance. It is absolutely a level that we can be rejecting from. But when I look at things like the RSI, where we're at from a structural standpoint on the dollar, it is now or never for dollar bears, because I think if they cannot send this thing lower, you could be looking at the potential for, the dollar to move more volatilely to the upside. And like I said, really the only times that we've seen the dollar impact the market over the last year and a half, really, I think since we've kind of bottomed on legacy markets, has been when the dollar has moved, in a volatile fashion. Ranging doesn't really do it, but the slow grind up towards resistance, if it ends in a pop, I think that's something to potentially pay attention to, right? And so far, we're seeing equities sell off as the dollar is pushing up near that resistance. So this feels like an inflection point to me. I don't know about you guys, but this is a level I want to see bulls start to step in if we're going to have a risk on Q4. What do you guys think about that perspective kind of across the board? I think, Bitcoin can probably mess around for a little bit longer, but legacy markets are painting what looks to me like a very clear picture. You either hold here and push higher up over the next, maybe at least over the next 1 to 2 weeks, but probably over a higher time frame. Or do you think that this is a level that we could see some downside market structure breaks and maybe even continuation?
I can see you want to cook, Max, but I want to jump in on this.
Well, I've never been one to step in front of the chef, so please.
I would be more in the camp of the opposite, actually, Tommy. I would say bears need to step in here. and they need to do something, because if they don't do something, especially with Bitcoin, this could very much be time capitulation. And I could see a lot of cope if that happens, if prices move in the opposite direction. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that price is going to do that. I'm just stating that bears have had plenty of time to take action, especially on Bitcoin, right? They've had plenty of time to take action on Bitcoin. And I think we have to acknowledge that portion of all things. Now, granted, bears have done a great job on dollar and oil. I will admit that. And we talked about this the other day, right? I'm never one to shy and take a specific stance if there's obviously other things that are affecting macro. And I think when you look at oil and you look at dollar, they take time to work their way into the economy. So even though we're seeing the rise of them, it may not come to fruition for another month or two, right? Before the market actually starts to realize, oh, maybe we got ahead of our skis because oil is now at $100 a barrel, right? And these are things that take time for the market to actually understand and pay attention to. So while I agree 100%, I'm gonna tell you guys, like, I'm a bull right here, but like 100% I agree on the oil trade and the dollar trade. Like, I think that you should not ignore that macro trend. The dollar is whatever. You can say whatever about the dollar, but when you got dollar and oil chatting, oil is a macro effector of all commodities. So you have to keep that in mind. And commodities is the most, we'll say, sensitive to any type of inflationary environment. So you have to always like factor that in. And if you're going to see inflation again, does inflation come down? Right? we can argue that inflation. We can argue that inflation may not ramp back up, but we can also argue if oil starts moving, inflation also does not come down, which means we don't meet our Fed target, which means no soft landing, which means the Fed has to be more stern, which means higher for longer, which means more pain on financial institutions and anybody looking to refinance. Think about all the people refinancing, right? The longer rates stay higher, the more refis that eventually have to come into play. And look at how much higher they're going to have to refinance. That is going to put an economic, detriment on finances on a lot of companies and a lot of financial institutions. So I think in the long term, the longer we stay elevated on rates, the more risk there is in the market. Whereas I don't see inflation coming down. Whereas, I think that pain is still ahead of us until that doesn't become a headwind. But yeah,
I think that's a good way to characterize it, honestly, Will. That bears. This is actually the window of weakness. So I was characterizing it as bulls need to step up, given that we're at support. But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, the trend has been up for effectively 8 or 9 months. So the onus is now on the bears to prove that the weakness is here locally. I would absolutely agree with that take. It's difficult for me to see the dollar U-turning here, though, necessarily, especially, given what I'm seeing with the RSI and the momentum. I mean, it looks to me, by all accounts, like it is about to put in a God candle higher. And I think that could cause a lot of problems for markets. But I will say, the time is running out for the bears. And I think that if you're going to see downside, it's likely to occur sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we are going to base out and likely see higher prices, when supportive flows start coming in next month.
Yeah, and I think expectations on volatility, I think just so many people are expecting some kind of rip in one direction or other. I think if bears gas out here, there's good potential the market just literally just runs sideways. Doesn't even go up or down.
But Will,
Right?
have you
Continues to
considered
trend
this?
floors.
Have you considered this, Will?
Look, I'm not. Oh, you mean dollar? No, yeah, no. I pointed that out the other day because I think oil does form a higher high eventually. Right? I think we come back and we fill that 2008 high, which is $140, $150 a barrel. And if that's the case, when does that occur, and what do the economics look like when that occurs? Arguably, I mean, if we're looking at 2008 and we're in that range, inflation has reached a certain point to where something's going to snap and the Fed has to act in a big way, right? That could be a Volcker event very easily if we end up going that high again.
Yeah, I don't know if we're actually going to go that high, but that
here's the thing, though, Tucker. That could happen. Like, it wouldn't happen quite like that, but It's not impossible. Like if we flip that white line that you have right there, that's a pretty clean range breakout. Just saying. That's not my base case.
Yeah.
If you zoom out too, Tucker, like you're
Look,
probably
this is
lining
just-
up with
this
highs.
is just the same RSI level as we were right back here. And obviously this is different because they were hiking aggressively this whole time, which strengthens the dollar, right? So we're not in that same regime. Like they're probably going to pause and then cut in the next 12 months. So it shouldn't do exactly that. But I mean, if you have oil keep going the way it is, I mean, I don't know. What were you saying though, Will?
If I were to take a stab at this, gun to my head, where do I think this would go? I think maybe back to double top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to double top personally, but I think the way it could get there could be very quickly. And that's kind of why I've been raising concern around the look of this chart. It looks like it's about to put in a God candle almost straight up to a double top. And then we can maybe distribute and talk about what that means for the broader market. But it looks to me like if I were trading it like a shit coin, it's going to go vertical into a double top.
Yeah. So this would be the okay, but if this was Bitcoin, right? So this is our like summer 2021 bottom between like 30 and 28K. 69K double top would be dollar at 120. And then we crash from there. Nah.
Could you zoom out a lot more?
I don't think that's
just so we can see what's to the left there. I just want to see where price is. Yeah. Out more. Way out.
Because I could see a scenario where we double top on the dollar.
See that top right there?
Tucker, further, man. Go to the 50-year. 50-year candle.
Here's the 12-month chart for you, Will.
Go
Look
back.
at the 12-month RSI. It's
As far as you can go.
No. Right. Actually, no. Go back to where you just were. Go back to where you just were. Yeah, we'll go 12 month. Look at that wick. Look at that wick. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could very easily fill.
Yeah.
And that just goes back to the previous. Look, we can sit there and make fun of it, but that's your 2000 high too.
Well, you can't have.
I like the context that this lays out, where you effectively test the high on 2 or 3 different yearly candles.
Yep. And then you full on reject from there.
I was about to say, I think there's genuinely a scenario where the DXY sees a double top fairly soon. Equities may or may not make new lows on indexes, but at that point, you probably end up just going higher, both because of shorts, because the dollar's dropping, a myriad of things. But I think it creates kind of an interesting environment if we do get that spike. Like, what happens next?
You have the RSI playing in that favor too, right?
Look at that.
I would arguably say
it held the 50 and it's breaking out.
Yep, that's what I'm saying. And I would arguably say if this were to go to 120, you gotta shove at 120. You have to shove at 120.
What are you shoving at 120?
You're buying everything.
Yeah, risk asset.
You're buying everything, mainly risk, right? You got to.
What if we make an all-time high, man?
Then
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Then you're shoving at 120 and then you get wrecked.
Bro, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think your probability there is very, very, very low. I think 120 is your high.
85.
Yeah. And if you look at the 120, like every subsequent major event has been a lower high. 120 is still a lower high. Right.
Yeah, it's a fun fact. 1987 actually occurred because the dollar was dropping so quickly.
Exactly.
So that would somewhat invalidate Black Monday, right?
I mean, I think that
in the short term,
it depends on what you classify as Black Monday, right?
Yeah,
it's just one factor that caused it. I think markets are very much, like I was saying yesterday, I mean, markets are very much a reflexive feedback loop. And that is what caused Black Monday. It was the fact that so many sell orders essentially piled in over the weekend, and computerized trading such big roles that when Monday hit, you just had so many sell orders trigger. And there was also no bid. I mean, I was reading about it. The order book was literally just asks, bringing down the book. Bids were removed. Brokerages weren't even answering the phone. So we have things in place to avoid like a 1987 type crash. I'd be shocked if we had a 20% crash in a day. I just don't think that we have plenty of systemic controls now to prevent exactly events like that occurring. But that doesn't mean we can't sell off, in my opinion, another like 10 or 15% from here on equities if 100%. We get snowballing.
Tommy, do you know when the equity market circuit breaker was invented?
Is this going to be a joke?
No, I'm dead serious. Do you know when it was? When the equity circuit breakers were invented?
Probably 87.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Following that event. So we could definitely have a big sell-off, but we can't replicate what happened that day. It's not possible anymore. And I'm very thankful for that. In crypto, we certainly can.
22% sell-off in one day on the S&P would be catastrophic.
Oh yeah. Well, we see that in crypto every single cycle, though, Max. That's what a lot of people tend to not pay attention to. That's why we have boom and bust cycles in Bitcoin, because there's no guardrails, right? You get to a certain point.
Crypto's the free market, man.
And we don't want guardrails. No guardrails. We don't.
I'm not at all advocating guardrails. I'm simply stating why we get boom and bust cycles.
Yeah. TradFi is bowling with the bumpers up. That's what TradFi is.
Yep.
I love that.
100%.
That's literally what it is.
Tucker, tweet that right now for me. That's a good tweet. You need to tweet that. You got to tweet that out.
I got to tweet that. Yeah.
But can you do like the guy, the meme who was like, love me or hate me, you watched, and that's all you could do. You got to tweet that guy's face with what you just said.
Which guy?
You know the guy.
The legend, like the only bowler I'd be able to recognize
on
a face recognition standpoint.
The only bowler.
He's got this quote that was circulating, and it was like, love me or hate me, you watched, and that's all you could do.
That's
the bowler.
That's a cold.
The biggest thing is, and I want to reiterate this, is a lot of people get this wrong. And even old macro guys, like really old macro guys, which I'm surprised, like in their 40s and 50s, because they were around for that. Like a lot of these guys, they think that somehow a systemic collapse can happen with all the guardrails we put in place in the stock market. It's like, no, they will literally just stop trading if it comes to that.
That's exactly what they did during COVID. I mean, they stopped trading like multiple times. It didn't stop the market from free falling.
Yeah, they kept dumping every time they started it again. That's how they step it down, right? You can see the collapse before it happens, because they'll just stop trading. It'll collapse.
The important thing about those systemic controls is to avoid like a freak incident where you lose 20 to 25% of the index in one day. I mean, that's why. It doesn't mean that you won't lose it over the course of a week or a week and a half if that's, the market finding liquidity, but you at least have time to avoid a purely panic-driven capitulation event in equities. Because let's be honest, I mean, the last like 40 years, we have completely just created a self-reinforcing system that's very fragile when we have any downside. When we nuke, we turbo nuke.
This is honestly why crypto brings the most wealth when you think about it from a financial situation, because it brings the most wealth because when you see these capitulation events, you can take advantage of them, right? Because the market's overreacting. Whereas the stock market will lag because the stock market is consistently getting stopped every time it's trying to sell off. And that's just, essentially the government intervening in a free market is what I like to call it. So our free markets are no longer free markets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we can't control how much a market will sell off if it wants to sell off. But what we can control, guys, is the number of likes on this video. So
you beat me to it.
You got me.
So I would love to see you guys hit 20 or 30 likes on this video if you have enjoyed the content. We appreciate y'all being here and spending your Tuesday morning with us.
Come on, Tommy. Lather it on thicker than that. Come on now. Come on. That was okay. Come on. You got more than that.
It was the lead. It was the lead, and that was solid, man. I was hanging my hat on that.
That was epic, man. But you got to follow. Come on, man. Give me more than that. Give me more than that.
Man, that Euro was tough.
What do you? I guess when it comes to overall markets, what are your guys' thoughts on sentiment that crypto is dead? I keep seeing it everywhere.
All right, let me
CNN,
jump into this
everywhere.
conversation. I've been a little quiet here. I actually am starting to lean a little bit bullish here, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
No, Mac.
Yeah,
No.
it is. It's very real. It's very real. Okay. It's going to be this week, or it's not going to happen like we think. All right. We have spent enough time dilly-dallying down here, and I am not seeing the type of activity that is leading me to believe we are about to have an imminent sell-off unless it is catalyzed by something that we are not seeing in the charts right now. Okay. Because I've been seeing the same bearish setup in the charts for a while now. And there's been some news, which has been debatably bad, but I actually am starting to lean slightly bullish here. Okay. Now, I want to entertain a couple different scenarios. All right. And I want you guys to bear with me on this journey. No pun intended. All right. No pun intended. I'm going to try to steal the screen. I had some trouble with StreamYard yesterday. Oh, it's happening.
Let's go. He can't take
Happening
it.
again. No.
He
Oh,
said, "Let's go." We can't take it.
dude, I don't know what it is. I think it's when I have a VPN on, maybe, and I start the
It
stream with it
is.
on. It
They don't
doesn't
trust
allow me
you.
to screen share. It's so annoying.
Yeah, they don't trust you.
I might even leave and come back just because I wanna steal the screen so badly.
You can do it. You can do that. You can do that.
All right, guys, hold down the fort. There's 32 people in here. I want to see at least 32 when I get back. No one leave just because I drop off. All right, I need everybody's attention here. I'm going to take us on a spiritual journey to ETH going to 2,500. Okay, so hang in there with me.
What do you think, Will? I think it looks pretty similar.
Bro, over and over again, same pattern. Repeat.
I know. No, I agree. Look. We're going to do this. Look at this. This is this. You get the drop, pop. This was grayscale. You just forget about this. Oh, he's back.
Stole. Man.
Oh, man.
Sniped that screen, man. No regard for what you were talking about, man. Just stole it. All right.
Macro looks horrible, but charts are screaming something different. Especially, I showed you guys that freaking falling channel, man. There's no denying that. There's none.
Dude,
Like,
I actually
it's so
don't
obvious.
think macro looks terrible, Will. I actually think macro looks good.
And the
on the
charts
oil
look
side,
I think macro looks good. I think the charts look good. I think 100K next week. That last part was a joke, but the first two were a little bit more serious. All right, guys. So I have a confession to make before we begin here. Okay.
Are you Max Long?
No. I'm not Max Long. I'm not Max Long. I was gonna make a joke. I'm not gonna say it though. I'll text it here in the. I don't even know if I'm gonna message here in the private chat.
So if you're bullish, what's your thoughts on people calling for AK Bitcoin?
They're wrong. Okay. I wasn't gonna say that on the air. Okay. So the confession I have to make, you guys, is that I am a CME gap filler. All right. I respect the CME gap. All right. Now, for those of you that don't respect the CME gap, well, it might be time to grow up. But I am a CME gap respector. They work. They've got a very high hit rate. Some gaps mean more than other gaps, but nonetheless, the gaps fill, and they fill at a very, very high probability. So let's take a quick little journey here. We're going to draw these live, all right? There are some very prominent gaps in the chart that I think are worth discussing. Will it show up on the 2-day? No, that one doesn't. All right. First and foremost, let's talk about this one. All right. This big gap here happened during the Silicon Valley banking crisis, okay? So here's this gap right here. There's the top of it. There's the bottom of it. All right. ETH has dipped into its last unmitigated CME futures gap. This is the last one. That's it. There's some that have like, partial fills and stuff, but this is your CME gap. Okay. We filled into it, and they don't need to be fully filled. Partial mitigation is fine. Next, this one was left behind from last year's carnage. Right up in here. This is all the way up here, 2540, 2600. All right. While we were cruising up here, I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible we come up and, tag that at the time. I wasn't playing for it, but I thought it was possible. All right. So we're now inside the CME gap. And I said to myself, you know what? I really want Bitcoin to fill in that CME gap because I'm a CME gap respecter. I want to entertain this scenario here. What if, why did these get moved a little bit? What if the crypto asset class expands north and we fill in the CME gaps above us during the Fed pause? Bitcoin goes mid 30s, ETH goes 2,500, and then once we get the recession and the cuts next year, we come back and we fill this last CME gap on Bitcoin during a sort of like black swan that nobody saw coming. But meanwhile, we'll just bottom right within this gap perfectly, that kind of thing. What if up before down?
That was my base case.
What if equities to all-time high? What if Bitcoin goes and fills in the CME gap, by the way, which is perfectly right? It's the EQ of this monthly imbalance right here. Perfectly. Right here. Perfect. So what if our CME gap is also at the 50 fib of our monthly imbalance? Look at that confluence, and we move up, and then, maybe we come back and we fill this one in lower, I'm just saying. Wow, Robert, it is like that sometimes, isn't it, man? Cold-hearted, Robert.
I think my only hesitation with that would be if we get a real recession, are we sure that Bitcoin stops at that CME gap?
Yes. You want to know why?
Magic.
Yes.
Magic internet money.
I have been doing a lot of thinking, and I subscribe to Jackass's thesis that Bitcoin is going to trade more like a commodity during this decade than it is risk. Now, granted, when equities sell off aggressively, gold and silver nuke. The knee-jerk reaction on everything is a sharp and aggressive sell-off. However, equities could go on to make a new low, and gold and silver and Bitcoin and ETH might just come back in to fill in some inefficiencies. So, again, I can show you correlations that, he's already shown you and we've already talked about, but I mean, for one, you've already seen them, and two, I can't prove it, right? I'm just saying I think it's going to happen,
I want you to tell me exactly what's going to happen. Predicting everything a year in advance, man.
And if you're wrong about one thing, you're a LARP. You can't lose any trade or be wrong. How dare you?
I would like to kind of weigh in on this because, like, I was a bear, Tommy, until the flip, right? And believe me, I bought near Bitcoin lows on a lot of alts. I didn't buy really much Bitcoin at all. I mainly bought alts. And it's because, you had the bull div at the lows, and you didn't just have it on Bitcoin. You had it on SPY. You had it on tons of assets before the flip came up. Now, keep in mind, we can call it catching a falling knife, whatever, right? But I play patterns to a T. And when I see divs, I play the div, especially on high time frames. And weekly div on Bitcoin at the lows, it played into the zone perfectly. Not only did it play into the zone, you had confluence on the left side of the chart from the rip up from the previous cycle. So you had a consolidation range that was playing right into that bull dip. So when you looked at the two together, you had to flip up. And really, in reality, I think the market has taken a stance that the bottom is in for this move, and that, we can come down but us coming down below lows, once a bull dip has occurred, I think it's just very unlikely, right? Especially on the time frames that I saw it on. Again, weekly, monthly. This isn't a 4-hour, 2-hour, 1-hour chart. When you make a move like that, you've had to have injected a lot of liquidity to flip the market, right? You've been buying down very, very, very heavy as a market maker, and now if for you to go below lows, you would be in so much drawdown, it would be detrimental to your system, essentially. So I don't know if it's whales, I don't know if it's market makers that did it, but believe me, all markets pretty much flipped at the same time. I'll pull up a chart while you're going through this, Max, and kind of put the two side by side, and I'll show you guys kind of where the entire market kind of flipped and made a decisive move to run the market back up. I think it was decisive.
I definitely don't think anything is decisive yet.
If you look at the
report still, Will, come on. How can you say that's decisive? We're trading below where we were yesterday.
No, I'm not talking about the move right now. I'm talking about at the lows. Right. So when we did our basically our bull div corrections, I'll show you between SPY and between Bitcoin. Both of them were at the same time. All
right. Let me take you on this journey. We only have one example. All right. The top effective federal funds rate. Gold, as is it's colored in gold. Bitcoin is orange. S&P 500 is blue. All right. We're going to take a look at what happened at the last pause. All right. I know we've done this a little bit before, but we're going to do it again. We're just going to do it every day until I'm either right or I'm wrong. It's that simple. Okay. All right. So this line is drawn. These two vertical lines are drawn from the Fed pause to the end of the cuts. All right. Let's take a look at what happened with each individual asset. Okay. So gold, Bitcoin, S&P 500. All right. We're going to draw a line right here. So this is where price was on gold when we began the pause. On Bitcoin, here's price when we began the pause. The S&P 500. Notice the difference. During this pause to cut, gold went up, had some volatility. Granted, when equities dropped, gold dropped, Bitcoin dropped. But look at the difference here. Look, the S&P 500 was the only one of these three, Bitcoin, gold, S&P 500, that went on to make a low below where we started the Fed pause rally. So yes, there will be volatility, of course. If equities drop next year, we're most certainly going to see Bitcoin and ETH and gold and silver all drop in tandem. But I think this little tightening and cutting and pausing cycle right here is enough for me to potentially entertain the scenario that during the Fed pause, right here to right here, I don't even need to draw these arrows. Gold can rally, Bitcoin can rally, equities can rally, and then we're going to get, some serious repricing to the downside sometime next year when they're done with their cycle and they're actually cutting rates. And we're probably going to see initial claims rising, and we're probably going to see unemployment north of 4.5%, 5%. Equities are going to make a new low below basically wherever the pause rally began. And gold and Bitcoin, just like they did during this little mini cycle right here, they went on their merry way. So I'm just saying that there's not no evidence, right? This time, where we're at in this cycle right now is definitely different than where we were at in 2018 through 2020. Certainly. We had COVID. Okay. It's most certainly different. This is definitely more of a true recession setup than we had back in 18 to 20. But with that said, there's not zero evidence for Bitcoin and risk, I guess, and gold rallying from now until middle of next year when we start getting cuts, equities nuking, and then everything classified as a commodity, including Bitcoin, holds up okay. But where I was going with this too is if we were talking about the CME gap, let's go back to this. So we just talked about this. What if we do a pause rally here on Bitcoin, We do a pause rally here on Bitcoin. Miners get some relief into the halving. Equities have a rip down sometime Q2 of next year. Bitcoin fills in the CME gap on a flash crash, which it's not even a flash crash, right? It's just a really hot unemployment print or, something like that. And we were always planning on this in the first place because there was a gap there and these gaps get filled. And yeah, we were just waiting for the recession to hit in order to fill the gap. And then we move up from there, and then we move up. What if something like this? What if?
Give me about 2 seconds. I'm gonna blow your guys' mind, bro. Legit.
Well, I have a feeling you didn't listen to what I just said. You were planning your whole thing. Is that the case,
I was.
Will?
I was.
All right. Let's see.
I was.
And guys, the most important thing to note about all of this, beyond the CME gaps,
I know it's coming.
beyond whether we go up or down first, is that the only thing I'm bearish on right now is the likes on this video. Because, guys, we don't have enough likes on this video. If you guys are enjoying the stream so far, please consider smashing that thumbs up button for us. It really does wonders for the channel and really helps us grow. We greatly appreciate you guys showing up every single day and supporting us as you guys do. If you haven't yet, please consider liking the video. And also, we'd love if you subscribe to the channel. We love watching that count roll up as the show grows and as the channel grows. So please like and subscribe. Please help the channel grow. We got to make that YouTube headquarters robot take a liking to us as always. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for being here. All right, Will, do you really want to blow my mind?
Yep. I'm gonna blow it right here.
Okay.
All over
the Dr. Outlook.
All right. So when I say decisive,
I'm stealing it back.
No.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
When I say decisive, all right, we are talking very high risk. We are talking small cap. We are talking Bitcoin, biggest commodity in crypto. We are talking S&P. All right, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. The entire market flipped at the same time.
It's one big trade. Yeah, it's one big trade, the whole thing.
This is the part I was talking about when I said the entire market made a decisive move to move up. Liquidity flowed into all of these at the same time. We are talking about markets that have no correlation. Palantir has no correlation to Bitcoin, right? ARK does, obviously, right? Very high risk portfolio for ARK. When you're looking at things like SPY is a very, modest stock. It's a very slow growth, outpace you in 10, 20 year type stock. Everything moved at the same time. Like I can't make it any more clear, right? Most obvious trade of the entire year. This is why I was buying crypto through here, because when you got to here and you got to here, you had great indication of the market flip. Same thing here on SPY. When you got from here to here, you had great indication on market flip. For those of you in the crowd here that probably, at least in our chat, that don't or do understand how RSIs work the chart patterns, you got dropping price and a rising strength. That means buyers are buying 20 stocks here, whereas here they're probably buying 100, right? Or 200 or 300. Their volume has picked up significantly since prices dropped. So when volume picks up to drop price, it means that people are feeling more and more and more enticed to buy. And that's how you can tell where the flip occurred. It didn't occur anywhere prior to that. This was all flush, 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 flush. And then same thing over here for SPY. Look, flush. Everything was a flush up until that point. So you had the right to be a bear until you got the flip on the string.
All right, Will, hold up. I'm going to let you cook, but hold up. What next?
What next? I mean, arguably, so we have a couple factors. Palantir here has broken the trend, right? But it can still pull back above on the higher time frames. So we'll see what happens here. If Palantir continues to drag down, the trend is ended, and we could definitely come down in a big way. But the problem is a lot of people are expecting lower, but the reality is we might see something like this, right? or something like this, where I have it drawn out on this head and shoulders that I think is going to play here on Palantir, and Palantir is going to drop into this 1173 zone, right? If I were to pull up a lot of these, there's a lot of gap fills. I mean, you got a lot of confluence right here that can get filled, but I think that's it. I don't think you go much lower than that. So, like, if I were to flip this up, I would say I'm gonna give you guys some other context. I would say this is your trend, right? And if you play sideways into it, then it's a rip off of that trend. But this is your trend over here. Arguably, I'd say ARC, same thing. This was your trend. You see the white line right there. You've already broken your trend on ARC, right? So ARC is coming all the way back down, probably to retest the channel right here, would be my assumption. If you look at Bitcoin, same thing. Bitcoin's in one of those scenarios too. Bitcoin could easily come in, and I would say you do have a running channel here, much higher than what a lot of people are paying attention to. And I would say it's here. Look, I'm going to show you guys. This is kind of crazy, but like, you have a channel right in here, right? So you do have a running channel right there, and you could even arguably run that up even higher and see support on it up here, right? So to run back down to this, again, low 20s, right? That's all that would be if you were to do that. So that would be your running channel here. So I would arguably say ARC and Bitcoin are very similar in their positioning, right? Whereas when you look at something like Palantir, it's had so much money flow into it that the confluence can't really go below trend. It's got to stay on trend. If you look over here at SPY, SPY is another one of those, right? SPY is one of those that's kind of had that confluence to where you got to stay on trend. So you can have downside in SPY, but your reality is you're going to come back up. You can have downside in Palantir. Your reality is you're going to come back up. You can have downside in ARC. Your reality is you might trade sideways before you come back up, right? You can have downside in Bitcoin. Your reality is you might trade sideways before you come back up if you end up in these lower zones. If you don't violate these lower zones, you're more than likely going to rip back out from here, right? And same thing with ARC. Even though ARC's here where it is, if ARC doesn't violate these lower zones and come back down to trend, it's more than likely going to rip back up. But if, as you can see here with ARC and Bitcoin, it's just a retest of the highs, right? Whereas if you look at something like Palantir and so on and so forth, you got a big pull down, but you've got a trend that's really healthy. So this, for me, the way I would look at this is these are more than likely to trend higher in a big way, whereas these are more likely to do this before this, right? So these ARC's more likely to go sideways than break out, whereas Palantir is in a full-on trend, right? Bitcoin is more likely to trade sideways before a breakout, whereas SPY over here is in a full-on trend. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, Will, if you expect Bitcoin to go sideways, what do you think that means for altcoins into the end of the year?
We'll probably bleed. We'll probably bleed into Bitcoin. That's my. I've been an advocate for that for sure. I don't think altcoins are necessarily the best play, especially if you're buying. So here's the risk that a lot of people don't mitigate or think about is they're buying last cycle's coins. How many people are trapped in those coins? How many people would be willing to sell at 80% drawdown? How many people would be willing to sell at 90% drawdown? How many people would be willing to sell at 50% drawdown? Those are all resistances, right? So every time one of these coins get to that drawdown number, you're probably going to get more selling. And without more buyers, that's just more compression on the altcoin. Even if the altcoin doesn't go lower, it's not going to go higher either, right? It's just going to stay compressed in that area. It's all about what are people willing to sell at, and how long are they willing to hold on to the asset at a loss. And I'd arguably say there's not a lot of people that are willing to do either one of those, right? They're not willing to set in things at a loss, even though people say I'm dumb in hands. Yeah, 99% of the space is all paper hands. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You're gonna end up like, oh, I got to pay gas this week, so I had to sell my crypto.
You just gotta have
99% drawdown.
Conviction in crypto. Like, at the end of the day, whether you have it to the top side or the downside, I think the one thing that you have to have is, at least when the move is getting started, you got to have a little bit of conviction, because they always are going to try and shake you out of it, whether that be to the upside or to the downside. I absolutely agree with you there, Will.
Yeah, I mean, it's an obvious play. You see it play out every cycle. I hear this time it's over. You know, I when I saw CNN come out and say NFTs are down 99%. Everybody lost everything. I was like, oh, I gotta go start looking at NFTs again. I was like, these guys are bringing it up. They're doing the thing. NFTs might be floored here.
Let's look
start
at some
looking at
NFT
liquidity.
charts actually, since we're on the topic. Let's look at because I know Hudgies are actually pumping. I'm kind of mad I sold mine last month. It's up to like
They pumped
I
right
saw it
after
was
that
like-
article, by the
I
way.
know, man.
Right after the
The
article.
Penguins?
CNN.
Penguins are almost
Everything.
at 5 ETH, Tucker.
Bro, everything.
Bro,
I know.
Yeah.
Tommy.
I know
Yeah.
that was a fumble, but it was
No,
marginally speaking. We only had one, so it's not like it's that.
Apes are up too.
Mhm.
Mutant apes and apes are up. Everything's moving in the NFT market.
Except
I-
for the ladies.
well.
Except for Milady's.
Except for
Milady's got rugged, so
Milady's PvP'd each other into poverty.
yes, they did.
Then they're wondering why they can't pump their NFT.
But
They've just been taking each other's money.
no, but Tommy, you know how you missed the other part? I think Milady's is lagging. I really do. I think they're lagging. I think they are closer to a bottom than most think.
I think they're close to a bottom on the floor. I'm not sure against like a dollar pair yet. But this is a floor price I'm attracted to. I want to see some
For a
sideways
bounce.
here. Yeah, I want to see some sideways here. Because I actually had this level marked out that we would get here by the end of the year. I didn't think we'd get here so quickly. But I would like to see some sideways price action. I could totally see us bottoming from a floor standpoint around this level.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think man, I love it because as soon as they came out with that article, said NFTs are screwed. You saw the NFT market just go bloop and just pop up immediately. Everything popped up.
What is BA? What do the Bored Apes look like right now? Because I remember their floor was like 35K.
They were getting crushed.
It was like 35K, and I still told myself I still don't want to buy one of these, man.
Yeah. What is it? BA want to see.
Well, it's more about your aspect.
Into my level. It's into my level,
Yep,
guys.
it hit the bottom right
Time.
there. It's more of an aspect too, because I think
Wow.
Zodiac's question is valid, but the reason NFTs, or we would say they're close to bottom, is like, do you go down 2 ETH, 5 ETH on a Bored Ape, or versus your upside. And I think your upside potential going into the next market, like I don't think apes will go back to like $1 million, but I do think there is enough loose liquidity in the market to push these things to an easy, cool 200K, 150K, 100K. And I know that may sound extreme, but I don't think at all that that's extreme, right? I think throwing a couple dollars at these things, and I know it's not a couple dollars, but when you look at it from the aspect of
buy a 40K ape right now, Will.
I am considering it. I just think there's a little bit lower to go, right?
Are you going to buy one, Will?
Bro, yeah.
I
think they're an easy flip. I think they're an easy flip. There's a lot of
I'd rather buy something else like a punk, man.
A punk, yeah, but punks aren't coming down. That's the problem.
The
Punks
problem
will
with
not
punks
come
right
down.
now is that they're owned by the same company as apes. So, but punks are probably timeless enough to be able to withstand that. My more NFT savvy friends are using the mutant ape chart to determine the NFT bottom rather than the Bored Ape chart, which I find interesting.
Is this the right mutant ape chart?
I need to find it, but I found a solid
think
NFT
so.
project, Tommy. I'll share it with you in the Discord.
Ooh, all right, shoot it my
A
way.
solid one, bro.
Is this the right
flow
chart?
was good.
Is this right?
Yeah, Macy. I don't know. That doesn't look right. Sushi swap Weath. Looks
Does it
weird.
not?
I don't think their floor is that much. I think Flex asked, so Flex, I think like if you're going to go down on Bitcoin, I think it's 20, 22K, 19K. Look, we can all speculate between 19K and 25K. I'll give you that easy answer, right? But how much downside upside? If you think Bitcoin go to 100K, is risking your positions to drop unless you're leveraging, right, to make more money. Risking your positions to drop 3 to 4 to 5K, is it worth your time and effort? Right? It all depends about like how much time you have to look at charts. If you have time to get in and get out, because it could be a flash crash, and if you're not paying attention, you're not going to catch it.
I think
that's
it
what a lot of
depends
people
on
get.
what the relative opportunity in the rest of the market is right now. Right now, there's just not that
Exactly.
much. I would agree, about like 6 weeks ago, I would completely agree with you because there was plenty of on-chain stuff popping up, and it was definitely, I think, more valuable for your time to be spending time in the on-chain trenches versus looking for a potential breakdown on Bitcoin. But I would say right now, the only opportunities that I'm seeing from a long standpoint in crypto are mostly concentrated to friend tech at the moment, and very select NFT projects. Like
I remember a lot of people memeing friend tech, but that liquidity flow is there. It's very easily seen, and people are still fading it. I mean, we don't come up here, guys. We don't show we have nothing to do with friend tech. Just just as a disclosure, we don't get paid by them, nothing like that. But we do pay attention to liquidity.
Do they pay people?
I don't know if they pay advertisers.
I don't think
or
they
anything.
do.
I don't
it
think
wouldn't
they've
surprise
come
me,
through.
but I don't know that they need to.
I just wanted to add it as a disclosure so people don't think we're up here shilling anything.
It's a
as
good
far as names go.
disclosure.
I don't even have a friend tech, so I'm not. I haven't chilled in it.
Tommy talked me out of it, man.
I will get a friend.
You should have, bro. You should have. Look, I'm telling you, like, look, I'll put it this way: they have airdrops.
I know they have airdrops. I just question
don't fade
the bid for the
airdrops.
token. Like
Don't.
when the
no.
airdrop comes out, what's the bid? What does
Look,
it look like?
We don't care about the bid. We're selling it.
No, but what's
Exactly.
fade
That's
airdrops.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
What's
I'm
the incentive to
Don't
say
The
fade
main
airdrops.
the main takeaway that I took from Tommy's spiel to me was, okay, yes, it's hot right now. It's probably in its first bubble. Let's see how it does when the hype dies off a little bit. Because I'm actually bullish on the narrative. I actually am. Like, I think it makes sense. But if it's really that great, let's see how it handles a little bit of social drawdown. Let's see when it's not the talk of the town how it does. So
Well, the
I'm
thing
fine
is,
waiting.
Max, is like, how many people exist in crypto right now? The same people we've been talking to for the past
What do you
year.
mean? How many
Because
people exist in crypto?
Everybody else left. Everybody left. Like, the only people in crypto are the same people we've been PvPing with since 2022.
Yeah.
And if you look at it from that aspect, the people on friend tech are those people, right? What happens when we get new inflows of new people, kind of buying into the narratives and start, speculating, the speculative cash starts flowing into things like friend tech and so on and so forth. If it's already getting the revenue push that it's already gotten without speculation money, imagine what it would get with speculation money. So again, it's the same thing with NFTs and so on and so forth. I remember a lot of people fading NFTs Q1 of 2021. I was buying all of them. And then I was selling those same NFTs that I got for like $50 for like, 15,000, 20,000 to people because that's what they wanted to pay for it.
You know what I'd love to look at right now, guys, is actually the only green altcoin on my watch list. BNB.
Hang on.
That's a sign of a healthy market, Tommy. Don't worry.
I mean, should you expect any less?
OP is green, but that's it.
We're at support, so I kind of think we're going to get some news, be it good or bad, fairly soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of ranging under that 220 level.
It did reject off an FVG I had marked out. I think if you're bearish, you probably want to see BNB continue to put in lower highs.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I wanted to point out, and I don't know if anybody's paid attention to this, has anybody looked at First Republic?
The bank?
No, are they screwed?
Oh, they are done. They are freaking toast.
What's their thing?
I was seeing that some
FRCB.
regional banks were doing okay despite TLT kind of having a tough. Oh man!
Go ahead and scroll out on that. Go ahead and scroll out.
I know.
Oh, that looks like TLT.
No, it does not, Tommy.
I mean, I don't know how they haven't sold off yet. I mean, as far as like just like been
It
liquidated.
makes sense when you have banks that are holding a ton of bonds, but I mean, I'm not gonna say TLT is gonna do something like that. Don't get me wrong. I understand the unrealisticness of something like that occurring.
Yeah. But yeah, they look pretty cooked.
I mean, you could take a bet on that, but I feel like that's a GME knife grab or something like that, or
No, you
AMC.
cannot take a bet on that.
I actually have.
I just said it'd be like probably a horrible decision.
I've
I
been
said it'd be like
prospecting
a AMC
some
or
micro caps lately. I'll have to share with you guys off camera sometime. But I have, despite my outward bearishness, I have been building a watch list of some really undervalued companies and charts that I've been finding, specifically ones that are focused around water. I was talking about this with somebody. I think that water over over the next 10 to 20 years it's kind of like a super low risk long on volatility, which is why I like it.
And I know we had Max. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we have like a free 30 days for the Discord also?
We did. And I was going to say, if you want to make something that is, in my opinion, not a very risky bet, it would be signing up for a free 1 month trial in our Discord. Guys, it's a free 1 month. We got 38 people in here. That means that at least 350 people should join the Discord right now, if my math adds up correctly. So no one caught the bad math, but that's fine. Listen, guys, I'm going to put something across the bottom of the screen here. Discord link in description below. Use code TwitterBB for 1 month free. What is there to really say? We share all of our trades in real time, additional analysis, additional everything that we don't talk about here on this show. You get to see truly behind the curtain for Will, me, Tucker, Tommy, Wabi, the entire Because Bitcoin team. Got a big surprise announcement coming tomorrow as well. A real value add to the Discord, I may mention. I don't even think everybody on the team knows about it yet. I think a couple people do. But nonetheless, guys, free 1 month. We share everything. It's really awesome.
Guys, I'll share my brisket recipe as well.
Oh man, yeah, you are gonna have to share that, man.
We're gonna charge more for that. That's an upcharge. Okay. Yeah.
I think somebody in the comments thinks that when I was talking about investing in water, I'm talking about investing in like crypto and water. That's a legacy market thing. That's not I don't even know how you would invest in water through crypto, but
tokenized water.
Yeah, Tucker also has an indicator that he shares with BB people, also, so you guys know that can call like these tops and bottom moves.
Oh, so this is a good question from Mike. Access to BB OnlyFans. We don't actually have one, but we do share some very interesting things in the Discord. So probably worth checking out. It's pretty cool.
I mean, as you can see by that indicator, it looks like, typically on the green, you can catch a good bid. So we might have a little more drawdown here, but it looks like it wants to bounce. Another thing I want to lean into too, not to cut anybody off, is and we haven't really discussed anything as far as real world use case cryptos. And I feel like it'd be really interesting to touch into one that I think specifically that looks really good from a Confluence standpoint. It is an altcoin, and that's Constellation DAG. Again, we don't get paid by anybody or anything like that, but like these charts right here, specifically on DAG, looks really good, and they work with the federal government. Keep in mind also.
I want your guys' thoughts on this wick right here. I don't actually want your thoughts. I need your thoughts on this wick right here, because this wick is driving me absolutely nuts. I'll tell you.
I don't think you want my thoughts on that wick,
Tommy. I specifically want your thoughts more than everybody else's thoughts. I need to know your thoughts on that wick.
The wick is the Cheeto meme. If we even get that low, we're going a lot lower. If we get near the low, I think we're going a lot lower. To be honest.
No, bro.
I from a structural standpoint on Ethereum, if you start to encroach upon that low again, I'm going to be inclined to believe that it is a high time frame structure flip on ETH, and I think it's going to go a lot lower. You should probably, the low should bait shorts at this point if you're bullish. If you want to see continuation higher, I don't think that you should trade back towards that low, unless you're doing something akin to the end of September 2021, where we put in that huge nuke candle from 53 to 42K, and then backfilled it about 2 weeks later before ripping to a new all-time high. But we would need, a catalyst for that, like the spot ETF, to drive flows into Bitcoin.
Are you talking about this one here, Tommy?
Not on. I don't know. No, it would be like the third week of September 2021 on Bitcoin. The pattern, I think, is a lot clearer.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of wonder, with this wick, I don't know. I mean, I just can't help but think it has to get backfilled. You don't leave wicks like this.
I do believe that we're going to backfill it, but my opinion is a little bit different than the rest of the panel on what it leads to.
Well, I am short from 1620, called out in the Discord in real time. Again, Twitter BB for 1 month free. So we're short from 1620, but I'm just sitting here and I'm like, what are you doing? Just do it already. Rip it off like a Band-Aid.
This is something I wanted to mention too, because I remember feeling similarly at the last top, Max, that when Bitcoin had topped about like 2 months ago or 6 weeks ago, however long ago it was, we confused a lot of times what was ultimately just a bleed and a lack of demand. I remember all of us flip-flopping back and forth on whether or not it was bullish or bearish. There was a lot of reason for both. What it ultimately was just a lack of participation and a lack of volatility that people draw conclusions from maybe a bit prematurely. So I think that goes for myself as well. The range has not picked a direction yet.
But I would also argue that lack of participation is on both sides of the coin. I think a lot of people don't recognize that. It could be on the buying side, but it can also be on the selling side too. You don't have participation on either side of the range.
I agree, which is why I want to see Binance stop selling spot, man. it's like we bounce from shorts, and then Binance will sell spot, and we end up at support, and then we need bulls to step in and save it. It's kind of, and then we saw how it ended eventually. We didn't have any more bids to support us at support, and we just nuked through it. And I'm wondering if we're going to do something like that again. We need spot to step in.
I want to kind of lean into another part of the conversation that's not necessarily it can be recognized in charts, but a lot of people don't realize with a lot of cryptos, right? So when we talk about a lot of the time, like last cycle's altcoins or last cycle's bags, the more people that got piled into a position for exit liquidity from previous cycle, that's just more. And this is why support and resistance is very important when you look at charts. That's just more people that you have to essentially sell on you when you're buying into positions, right? And again, those levels of selling occur typically at resistance and support. So when you start to see price support in a certain range, it just means there's been a lot of buyers there. So when you fall under that range and you come back up to that range, now there's a lot of sellers or distributors there, people trying to re-exit the position at break even. And so when you talk about, like, I'm going to point out the names that kind of people have been pointing out here, like QNT, HBAR, and so on and so forth. There's been a lot of accumulation of those through time and a lot of bag holders from previous cycles, to where you're going to just, your upside is limited because your selling pressure into the move until you exceed all-time highs is going to continue to more or less say deter your upside potential. This is like why when you're looking for like moonshots, you're looking for typically low cap crypto and or new projects versus actually going after old ones. I think just so many people go after the old dino coins. That's why we call them dino coins.
What is this propaganda that I'm seeing on the screen? What is this propaganda?
He's showing you the reality, bro. That's all.
I'm showing you why this wick is driving me nuts, is because on one chart I'm seeing bullishness. Like I cannot tell you, this is a bullish setup right here. This is the Binance chart. The fact that we forcefully drove down into this and swept this wick and recovered with this buy volume, and now we're coming back in to retest this structure right here. This is bullish. Okay. This on Bybit is extremely bearish. Okay. So it's driving me nuts that we can't get these in sync across the board. Like I'm looking at this is the same ticker on the same time frame. but I'm seeing two completely different things because of a scam wick down on Bybit, and it's driving me crazy. So I'm completely conflicted across the board right now.
You know what's going to lead, Max. You already know what's going to lead, and you know what I'm going to say.
Say it.
Solana.
Let's take a look at
Solana's gonna lead.
Solana. Let's take a look at Solana.
People hate that coin, but man, oh man, is it always on the right side?
100% is 100%. I think honestly, I'm gonna tell you guys. Look,
Hang on.
from a chart standpoint,
This
I
needs to
think
be addressed.
Evan thinks we're on the side.
Bro, have
Mhm.
you looked at my Twitter, Evan? I literally just made like a shit ton of purchases this weekend. Excuse my language.
They don't
On
know
top
the
of
mindset.
Evan, if you're gonna talk like that, you got to come on the show and say it to us, man.
Yeah. Come on now.
like go look at my Twitter. Go look at my Twitter. I'm probably the main character when it comes to buying right now.
Did
You know what they say about main characters, Will? I'm not sure you want to brag about that.
You don't want to be a main
Yeah,
character.
I
wanna
could
be the
probably
main
be the main
character.
character getting
Will just
wrecked,
main
too.
charactered himself, man.
All right.
Oh, it's over now, Will. You shouldn't have said that.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, look, I can be dumb in this area completely, but like, I've been buying.
Will has a stake in the stake bet.
I've even
Buying
got
Sol.
no BS. I even have crypto staked, which means I can't get it back out for like at least 30 days. So if we see a flash crash, that crypto's going
Will,
down.
are you playing derivatives of me and Tommy's bet?
I mean, I'm playing inverse.
Just
No,
like
I'm
he's just like the American equity market, man. Just betting derivatives on top of derivatives.
Oh,
Mhm.
Look, I've been playing flash loans. I've been running NFTs. Like CNN said, don't buy NFTs, so I bought NFTs and I'm up on all of them. So I mean, you just got to play inverse market.
Will, you're literally LeVar Ball, man. Never lost. Never lost. I'm up
Big
on every
baller
single
brand.
one of them. Never lost.
I will say I am down on my dot buys. Dot has been wrecking me, but the staking has kind of evened that out. And same thing with base. I mean, me and Tucker got destroyed on base originally, but you know, with
Dude,
the
we
APR,
bought it immediately. It went down like 75%.
bro.
But then what you do is you double down and then you throw it into their APR scheme. I'm going to
Yep,
say
the
scheme,
scheme.
not the other word. Scheme. And then you make it all back.
I remember
It's not that hard.
back in the day, back
Oh.
when Ohm was popular, the way they would keep people in it for longer. They had that. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember that Excel sheet calculator. That
Yeah,
you
oh yeah.
used. And I mean, it was addicting. You saw how much you could have in like 2 or 3 months. Okay, yeah, I'll 3. I won't sell.
Yep.
Then Ohm did drop, and it dropped like 90% in less than a month or two.
It's only because of those filthy 9-9ers, Tommy.
I know, man.
That's-
Those 9-9ers. It's still
Yeah.
funny for me to look back on the fact that we had on-chain forks like that, or Ohm and forks reach, multi-billion dollar market capitalization, but they still had, probably just no more than 10 to 50 million in on-chain liquidity. But people were leveraging against those to such a
Mhm.
substantial degree, and they'd get liquidated and still blame the dev of the project. It was kind of unbelievable to borrow.
I love when
asset
people
like that, get liquidated and then blame somebody else.
I love watching people come into like telegrams and yelling at the devs and everything else. It's like, bro,
This
Why are
actually
you
doesn't look
invested?
bad, guys.
why are you
Sol
invested?
actually doesn't look bad here, in my opinion.
Can devs do something?
This doesn't
Yeah.
look bad to me.
Can devs fix the liquidity pool?
What does Sol look like?
So here's what I'm seeing on Sol, guys. So this was a pretty clean retest of demand right here, this little move. So you could call just this general region, we'll call this demand. This is high time frame demand. We'll label it out. Time frame demand, we'll put that inside, and as a matter of fact, we'll make it green so you know it's demand. Green. I'll make the text a little bigger.
But I'm starting to flip. I think we're gonna have to do like a coin on the bet on who wins this.
I'm gonna win the bet. I'm gonna win the bet. It's not going below $10. So we're coming back in right now, and this is, I mean, we're in an uptrend right now. Like this is an uptrend, and we're coming back in. This is a daily order block, so we should hold this in theory. And I think if we are going to move up, this is probably your trade, these equal highs right here.
Yeah.
Something like this. I don't think it looks terrible. I mean, you have clean invalidation, right? You're coming right back into this daily order block. And it was the first daily time frame or high time frame block formed after we bounced off this high time frame demand. So I don't think it looks too bad. And then on top of that, you know, we do have some inefficiencies up above head. Like, I mean, let's just actually check the weekly. Yeah, that's kind of filled in, right? But I mean, you could make the case like, you know, inefficiency. I don't think we're going this high necessarily, but I'm just saying it was an inefficient quick move down. I don't think it looks terrible. I mean, it looks bad, but it's at support. So
Real quick too, just so people are aware, I know there's a lot of people in here have a lot of questions, and we don't mind you guys ask. We'll answer whatever you guys got. But I do want to point out, if you guys are on the Discord and you at any of us, we will typically respond and give you a relevant answer of whatever questions you have. So that's always a positive of being in there if you guys are interested in that too. And again, we are offering a free month of that. So just throwing it out there for you guys.
you guys should try it out, man. It's moving across the bottom of the screen. BB Discord link in description below. Use code TwitterBB. It's a good time, guys. It's a really good time. But what do you guys think about this? This doesn't look terrible to me.
No, I like the setup, and really, I mean, you saw me yesterday, Max. I don't feel like I paper hand my position. I got out, I took profit, and I think the market bounces. I mean, granted, we can go a little deeper, and I showed you guys that. I even pointed out the bottom; it's lower than where I closed my position. But you know, I'm really convicted that there's a good potential here for a bounce on many assets. And you know, even again, Tommy, it's the same thing. Like it's not bullish or bearish, because really in reality, I just showed you guys. I think if anything, our best case scenario is sideways for Bitcoin.
I still think that is the best case scenario for Bitcoin. I think Solana is still following the
and
this is cooked, man. This is
like
cooked.
6 weeks ago.
This is cooked, man. Zodiac called this out in the comments, man. Sol BTC looks terrible.
Yeah, it's a double top move.
That looks terrible.
You guys remember the Amazon fractal we put on this bad boy like 6 weeks ago?
Wait. So if you think Sol Bitcoin looks bad, but you're bullish on Sol USD.
Yes, I know what you're saying. So then I would in fact be leaning towards this scenario playing out.
And if Sol bleeds more.
I mean, bro, this looks good. Like this straight up looks like a super valid setup, and then you move over here to Bybit, and it looks terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Do I ignore the wick or?
Look, I'm just gonna tell you guys. I go with the side that scams, so I usually choose Binance over every other exchange. And so
I go with the side that scams. That was
go with Binance.
Something else, Will.
All I'm saying, guys, I'm gonna steal the screen.
I've gotten wrecked.
Yeah, Tommy.
I'm gonna steal the screen and post the Amazon fractal that we pasted on there like a month ago.
He's pulling a Tommy. Look at him just stealing the screen. Real quick, just for those that keep this up, Tommy. Just for those that are unaware of this bet we're talking about, Tommy and I have a bet. Okay. And it's an inefficient bet because we could both just long or short Sol and probably make a lot more money, but we decided to make it personal. So the bet is that by the middle of February, for me, I'm betting that Solana will not go below $10 by middle of February. Tommy took the other side of that, and he is betting that Solana will in fact go below $10 by the middle of February. The wager is a steak dinner, compliments of the loser, plus a flight out to wherever this destination is. So all in all, it might cost like $600 or something like that. $700.
Nope, dry edge steak. You're going up
I'm
higher.
talking flight, flight round trip.
What kind of flight though? We talking first class? We talking
no, just normal, just like economy, basic economy.
The steak's gonna be expensive. The flight, I'm not gonna make him spend for like a first class flight. But the steak,
but
the steak,
Steak will be more.
And that's
than a
where Tommy
flight.
and I differ because I'm gonna make him pay for the first class flight. I'm not as nice as Tommy.
But are we talking economy with extra leg room or just regular
Hang on.
economy?
No, I'm not
hang
that
on.
big of a guy, man. I'm not that tall. I'm pretty average height. I don't need all that space. You give me my complimentary headset and maybe some pretzels or something. I'm fine. I'm fine. I can go to the bathroom and stretch my legs.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Look, I won't lie. I'm not gonna sit up here in front of you guys. I'm on Tommy's side, even as much as bullish as I am. I think Soul and look.
All right, Will. All right,
look,
Will. Then short it.
I'm gonna
You
I'm
want
gonna
to pick
give you.
sides? Short
Hold
it.
on, no. I'm not shorting all. I already told you why. There's not enough liquidity.
All
But
right.
look, here. I'll give you context. It's not a feeling. It's not none of that. It's just there's that move all the way down there to single digits and back up. There's inefficiencies that need to be filled, right? And that's the way I'm looking at it. It has nothing to do with biases or any of that stuff from a chart standpoint. And you have to agree with that, Max.
This is
Even if you
disappointing
don't
to
want
hear
to.
you speak about Solana like this, man. It's very upsetting, you know. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to taste even better that I'm going to be right because I'm going to be eating that steak that Tommy bought for me, and I'm going to text you pictures of it. Actually, you'll probably be there. You'll be there.
Time-wise, that may be true, but I do think that Solana does refill those positions. But I want to also point out too, like I think a lot of selling in Solana, whereas other ones may have a lot of bag holders, I think most people have left the chain in Solana.
No, bro, I completely disagree. I would say the opposite, man. I would say
No,
people that
retail.
have capitulated have already capitulated out of Solana, man.
That's what I mean. That's precisely what I'm saying. So I may have said that wrong, but yeah, I think a lot of people capitulated in Solana. Now, it doesn't mean that selling pressure can exceed buying pressure because there is no buying pressure, right? So that's kind of the other scenario too, right? And that would be the slow bleed back down into that range low.
I mean, Max, you know this wants the God candle. If you flip it, you know this wants to put in a God candle.
Look, man, I already made the bet. So I'll argue for my conviction, man.
That does look pretty bullish. I'm not gonna lie.
No. That looks bullish. Like no.
Yeah,
That's
that.
not happening, man.
Now go to the top of that channel.
But see, that's fine.
Let's
Even
see how
if
bullish it can really get.
Even if that happens, man, it doesn't matter to me.
I love that
that's
Will is
$17.
bullish and still fudding Soul.
You know,
Bro, I'm just look. The chart speaks for itself, right? I don't have to speak for the chart. Look, hold on, you got to show us how high that can go to the top of that channel there.
we're at the top, man.
No, I mean the other top.
Oh, this
When it was inverted, he meant
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, you want to extend this thing,
And that's I mean,
there's
really
your
in reality,
$10 right there.
yeah.
So you'd expect boom, 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 maybe boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
There you
And
go.
that's your bleed.
all I need is 9.99 max.
Well, you're gonna see a humongous buy wall come in at $10 flat, and you're not getting through it. So
Tommy's just gonna be trying to chew through Max's buy wall.
Just market selling
Yeah.
all this Soul.
yeah, you're gonna need some help, man.
You're gonna call me the ghost of SPF.
Oh, so I got to run, but can we pull up Apple real quick? I just want to cover that real fast.
Yes, we can. Apple
looks terrible. Terrible.
It looks disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, just throw it on a monthly.
Just throw it on the monthly, man.
Go ahead and draw a line across the high of the previous high.
What did we have this on log or something? I don't
That's
know
all you got to do.
I don't know what the hell these things are. What, we lost it?
No,
Yeah.
over. Yeah, right there. Draw a line straight across there.
Yeah.
Like you where are you going?
Yeah.
Where are you going with Apple? You know, you have a support. It's a little bit lower, like 60s, but like, it's cooked. It can roll back up. It filled the entire wick that they pushed up. Apple has no hope from this chart, and I don't mean that by like it has no hope from a company standpoint. I mean the chart is literally telling you depression, right? Like for them to come back and fill that wick after they just pushed up that much liquidity to try and push this thing back up, They don't have the momentum in their favor. It's just not there.
A little inefficiency on the monthly.
This was my point though, Max, when I said if you don't get above 180, this is done. And I told you to short NVIDIA, and we talked about Apple. Now go to NVIDIA real quick. Now, granted, I don't want you guys to think that I'm some kind of bearish bear, but like you have to understand when the chart's reversing, right? And NVIDIA is going to fill that entire wick on that candle to the left, which means it's going deeper.
The fact that you have to put NVIDIA in log is just wild.
I think NVIDIA can pull back another 10 or 15% before bouncing. It's going to give a huge bounce, but it can pull back much deeper than people expect.
Exactly. Yeah. There's been too much upside and not enough profit taking. Now the profit taking's taking place. Now, granted, some people look at that one specifically, that 2 week, and they'll be like, okay, you got a solid support there. You do. And if you break that support, it's going to be another flush right down to that line that Tucker's got there. You have to hold where you are now.
Yeah. What about the weekly?
Yep, you hit right in there on the weekly.
Yeah.
That was always my expectation, was to come down to the top of that green box. Because as soon as you saw that wick right there after that big pump, you got that inefficiency. Look at that inefficiency there that you've highlighted.
I know, it's enormous.
It's massive.
I mean, that was the gap up, right? That was the gap
up.
Yeah. Because look at the daily.
Yeah, like you gotta at least touch it. You gotta at least partial fill it, right?
Yeah.
Which means you come out to the high. You're looking at easily 360, 370. Or not, I'd say 360, 340, somewhere in there. If you can get to 340, you're good. Right?
That's the level I'm looking at.
Somewhere in there. Yeah. Now it doesn't mean that NVIDIA won't continue to bid or be a Chad. It just means that that's your price zone where you want to look to bid.
Might not make a new high, but depends. I guess it depends on what the rest of the market's doing.
Hey guys, we've been going for almost an hour and a half. I think it's about that time.
Yeah, we can look to wrap it up. I know Will's got to run as well. Thanks guys for being here, spending your Tuesday afternoon with us. We hope that you were able to glean some alpha from all of our charts and all of our discussion. I felt like it was a pretty productive episode, honestly, as far as outlining higher time frame implications of how the moves in certain assets over the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to impact things into Q4. And of course, how we're going to be able to profit off of it, right? If you guys really enjoyed the content, like Max was saying, we do have some premium content in the description of our YouTube video, as well as the link tree of our Twitter bio. Come join our Discord. Check it out. I mean, you can get a whole month free to see exactly how we trade and how we approach these markets on a day-to-day basis. Like I said yesterday, I mean, we've been crushing the markets over the last few months, and that's not a joke. We have the proof to back it up. Very few people do. But yeah, I mean, this whole team has just been slaying markets lately. So shout out to those guys, and shout out to you all for being here and being with us on this Tuesday morning. But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and wrap things up. We are approaching an hour and a half. Thank you guys again so much for being here. We will have I believe we have a spaces later this afternoon, hosted by King Wabi. He always does a great job with those spaces. So make sure to tune in if you're free. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks again.